incidents continue to recur in Florida, and we know from our CBS News reporting just down the street in Tallahassee this week, the state legislature was considering legislation to pull back some gun control measures in Florida, including measures to keep guns out of the hands of people under 21.
Again, this is just one source of information. They have said that there is one person in custody. They were seen in handcuffs with their face down, and they were shot by law enforcement. Their understanding is that there are 2 deceased and 3 injured. Again, not confirmed, but just their understanding.
And that does not include a shooter?
Does not include the shooter. Those are victims. Shooter allegedly went into the student union with a shotgun. They went through the rounds of the shotgun. Then they switched to a handgun. When the individual was taken into custody after being shot at, they believe by law enforcement.
The question as it relates to who was the shooter. The shooter is 20-year-old Phoenix Eichner. And he's the son of a Lynn County Sheriff deputy. Our Deputy Eichner, has been with the Lynn County Sheriff's Office for over 18 years. She has a tremendous job that she's done. Her service to this community has been exceptional. Unfortunately, her son had access to one of her weapons, and that was one of the weapons that was found at the scene.
Black people in America, while the current occupant sits at 1600 Pennsylvania, black people in America don't have to pull the race card. It's what we live as a reality every day. It's what we have to teach our children. We don't want to, but we have to. We don't like to, but if we want to sleep at night, we got to. I ain't pulling no race card. I live it. I'm reminded all the time that I'm a black man in America.
Frisco police just confirmed a swatting call was made tonight to an address belonging to the victim's father. Now that's a prank call designed to bring a lot of police to a scene. Tonight, Jeff Metcalf confirms to WFAA he wasn't home when it happened, but he did arrive about 5 minutes later. Now, this is new information, and right now we're working to learn more details. But earlier today, everything stopped and heads turned when Metcalf showed up to a news conference called by the suspect's family.
We do not disappear people in the United States. Because here's the thing. If they can disappear Mr. Abrego Garcia, then they can disappear you. It's about disappearing people, but it's also about obeying court orders. But now what we've got is truly a man who threatens it, a spineless bunch of Republicans in the House and Senate who help it along. And the American people saying, wait a minute, I think this is the moment we're going to have to start fighting back for our country.
And as we gather with family and friends, we'll not forget the true source of our joy and our strength. America has put our trust in God. It will always be in God we trust. We will never change that. You know, there's a movement to change it. It will not happen. We won't let that happen. And with God's help, we can overcome every challenge, triumph over every evil, and restore the spirit of faith in the United States for generations to come. 3 days later, Christ's followers found the empty tomb. Jesus had defeated darkness and death and promised new life to all of humankind. And that's what we celebrate each year at Easter as we joyfully proclaim on Sunday, He is risen.
Every day, there's a battle for your mind raging. Information coming from every angle with the will to deceive. Fear not. You found the place for truth. The voice of a generation that still has the will to believe in the greatest country in the history of the world. This is the Charlie Kirk Show. Buckle up. Here we go.
Okay, everybody, radio stations across the country, honored to be with you as always. We are in the Bitcoin.com studio. That is Bitcoin.com. They do a great job. We had a phenomenal day yesterday in Pullman, Washington, and also Moscow, Idaho, where we had thousands of students at the Washington State University Plaza. And then I had a great event with Pastor Douglas Wilson in downtown Moscow, Idaho. It is Good Friday, the day that we remember the suffering of our Lord and Savior as a suffering servant who gave his life for all of us. We'll be talking about that later in the program. And also we have our members call, the second hour. If you want to join the program, it is members.charliekirk.com. That is members.charliekirk.com. Mr. Garcia, Abrego Garcia, getting a lot of attention right now. Makes you wonder. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. What is it about him that animates the Democrats so much? As I was flying back from the Palouse, hometown of Emma, I was flipping through X, formerly known as Twitter, which I try to limit myself only to about 30 minutes a day on X. It's just not good for your brain. It's not good for your cognitive thinking. I find that about 30 minutes is enough to kind of get a vibe of what is going on. And then I try to read books and listen to podcasts and stay away from all that chatter and all that noise. But the left was super excited that the senator from Maryland was able to sip margaritas poolside with Kilmar Abrego Garcia in San Salvador. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is in his home country. He's home. He is not an American. He's never been a legal American. He was an invader on our land. He was a trespasser in our country. It doesn't matter if he was a Maryland dad. They should have said he was an El Salvadorian gang member. So Kilmar Abrego Garcia sat down poolside with the senator from Maryland, Van Hollen, to meet. And very interestingly, I think Bukele is playing chess. Nayib Bukele, he said, I love playing chess. The president of El Salvador. Last evening, they posted pictures of them together meeting. And we found something rather interesting. Put this up on screen. The MS-13 tattoos that Garcia had on his knuckles. Oh, interesting. You see that on screen? And for those of you listening on podcast or radio, we'll make this available. It's already available on all of the Charlie Kirk social media pages and charliekirk.com. So the Maryland dad and the Maryland father has MS-13 on his knuckles. The middle finger is a serpent, S. The index finger is a marijuana leaf. A tattoo is documentation by gang standards. I was told that there's no evidence that he was part of MS-13. Well, look right there. This Maryland dad has MS-13. Now, I know what you're thinking. A lot of really good citizens that you know that live in your neighborhood also get MS-13 tattooed on their knuckles. And how dare we assume that just because this guy was in court documents, a wife beater, and from El Salvador, how dare we assume that he's part of MS-13 just because he has MS-13 tattooed on his knuckles? Happens all the time. In fact, I'm sure this Easter Sunday, when you're going around meeting some of your fellow Christian brothers and sisters, when you shake their hand, say, hey, happy Easter, you want to make sure when you look at their tattoos, oh, wow, you also have an MS-13 on there. Happens all the time. Now, I'm not a gang tattoo expert, but what else could MS-13 mean? Looks pretty simple to me. Marijuana leaf equals M. Smiley face equals S. A cross 1. And a skull designed as a 3. If you have a more plausible explanation, email me freedom@charliekirk.com. Not a good look for the Democrat Party, but that again goes to show that Van Hollen will fly to go try and get a foreigner back in America. Let me reiterate for everyone that might be missing this. He is not an American, and he will never be an American. He is not a U.S. citizen. He is not part of this country. He was an illegal occupier on this land. He is an invader. And so he gets deported back to his country, and this senator gets all worked up. And it's not just him. The base of the Democrat Party thinks this is a winning issue for them. And let me also just say this. He's not a undocumented immigrant. He is one of the most documented illegals in the history ever. We have nothing but documents on this guy. We got court documents. We got charging documents. We got travel documents. We got manifests. We have nothing but documents when it comes to Mr. Abrego Garcia. And the Democrat Party is applauding this. In fact, they think this is a win. This is phenomenal. Because Garcia, in their perfect world, they want a foreign gang member back into America. They want to repatriate him back to this country. I'll be very honest. This is a hill for our side to die on. Very simple. If the Democrats want to make their agenda all about Mr. Abrego Garcia, who beat his wife, that's right, is a wife beater, game on. If this is all of a sudden what you want to make the deportation fight. Now, I was wrong about something. I thought the deportation fight was going to be about like little girls that were being deported with their families and these pictures of these sobbing girls. Little did I know that the Democrat Party and the major members of the media think this is an individual worth fighting for and going all in for. There are also reports, we don't know if they're true or not, that he's a human trafficker. Wouldn't surprise me. And he's got those MS-13 right there on his knuckles. This galvanizes the base of the Democrat Party. This inspires them because look at the heroes the Democrat Party is getting behind. They're getting behind Carmelo Anthony, who is a young black man who brutally stabbed a white student to death. That is a new rallying cry at the base of the Democrat Party. They're selling merch of Carmelo Anthony's face. They get behind this lunatic who's an El Salvadorian gang member, MS-13 member. And then they also previously got behind George Floyd as if he was some sort of hero, like he's John the Baptist. The very, very robust criminal history. The Democrat platform, as they are presenting it to you right now, is to get MS-13 gang members out of prison and to get biological boys into girls' locker rooms. And the Democrats, they're already all in on this. They have already put all their chips on the table. As if we look at this guy, can we just put him up on screen? Is that a gang member that elicits a lot of sympathy? Is that what someone says, you know, we need more of that guy? He beats his wife, might be human trafficking, has knuckle tattoos that say MS-13, is from El Salvador, and in charging documents has said that other gangs might hurt him and he needs asylum because of that. And he was never invited into the country. He was never here with proper warrant. He was never given proper admission to the United States of America. Is that the type of guy that we really want? The Democrat Party says, yes, they care more about him. In fact, they think he is more of an American than the welder in Columbus, Ohio. They think he is more of an American than the pipe fitter in Allenton, Pennsylvania. This is the face of what the Democrat Party cares about. But let's just be happy about one thing. He's home. Abrego Garcia is back at home. America is not his home. America was the place he came to loot and plunder, to illegally occupy. And he should be thanking us. He's back home in El Salvador, back with his people. And Mr. Bukele says, I'm not sending him back. He's a El Salvadorian citizen, and we'll take it from here. Z-Factor from Relief Factor has the formula to help change a lot of things. Falling asleep is very important. So many people are not getting the Z's that they need. If you're looking for the right formula for better Z's, give Z-Factor a try. Right now, you'll save 46% on the first order. Call 1-800-4RELIEF. That is 1-800-4RELIEF. Or visit ReliefFactor.com. That is ReliefFactor.com. So check it out right now. You guys can get better sleep without drugs. See how Z-Factor can get you the Z's that you want. Or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That is 1-800-4RELIEF. See how Z-Factor can get you the sleep that you want, that you deserve. Z-Factor from Relief Factor has the formula to help change a lot of things. Z-Factor goes beyond melatonin and uses a combination of 4 natural ingredients. So go to ReliefFactor.com. That is ReliefFactor.com. So check it out right now at ReliefFactor.com. Email me, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com. Subscribe to our podcast. We'll be right back.
delivering 6 times stronger natural immunity to fake news. It's the Charlie Kirk Show.
Okay, everybody, why refi? We had a phenomenal campus stop at Washington State. Do we have the pictures? If not, we can get them cooked up. Private student loan debt is something I hear a lot about from our students. In fact, there was a student at Washington State that said, Charlie, I went to a private school. I got some private student loans. I was like, well, the whole tour is brought to you by Why Refi. May not be available in all 50 states. Call 888-YREFI-34. They're great supporters of Turning Point USA and our mission. Bad credit is accepted. Do you have a co-borrower? YREFI can get them released from the loan. You can give mom or dad a break. Go to YREFI.com. Many clients aren't even able to make the minimum monthly payments on their private student loans when they first contact YREFI. Go to YREFI.com. That is YREFY.com. Can you imagine being debt-free and not living under this burden anymore? The first step is contacting YREFI. Go to YREFI.com. Because of the private student loan debt, so many Americans feel stuck and helpless, and they've even lost hope. Go to YREFI.com. YREFI does not care what your credit score is, so please take a look at it right now at YREFI.com. That is YREFY.com. So check it out right now. YREFI.com. May not be available in all 50 states. There it is. The beautiful Palouse, look at that, thousands and thousands of students brought to you by YREFI.com. Welcome back, everybody. Email us, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. Let's play some piece of tape here from the great Stephen Miller. I was talking to Stephen Miller last night, and the Trump administration is adamant this is a foreign citizen now in his country of origin. The story is over. Let's play cut 200, please.
2 immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So we had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. And the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the president could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13.
A member of MS-13. Let's continue. Stephen Miller talks about the potential return of Abrego Garcia. He really is the face of the Democrat Party. Let's put that up. This is who the Democrat Party fights for. Let's play cut 235. $235. Nope. Okay. Well, we got a picture of Boise State when I said 235. How about this one here? This is the chief legal correspondent, Paula Reed, who goes on the news saying Trump is not violating the Supreme Court. Let's play cut 196.
President Trump and President Bukele made it clear that Abrego Garcia will not be returned to the United States, despite this U.S. Supreme Court ruling saying that Trump had to facilitate his return. So are they just ignoring a U.S. Supreme Court ruling, or is the fact that the ruling was so mushy, in your words, giving him an opening?
It's a technical term I learned in law school, Jake. Mushy, look, they're working within the ambiguity that the Supreme Court justices gave them. They did not order the administration to return him to the United States. They said that they need to facilitate this return. They could have said, we order him returned, but they didn't do that.
Now, here's the best one. And I just have to reiterate it. Blake makes a good point in the chat. The key thing is not even MS-13. The key point is that he's an illegal, and illegal immigrants don't belong in America. But even more that we learn about it, the more extraordinary this case becomes. Here's Michael Strahan, who I've always liked Michael Strahan, for the record. I think he's fun and lively, and he's probably woke, but whatever. I think he's got a good heart. He's got a good way about him. Michael Strahan asks the wife of Kirmar Abrego Garcia about the restraining order she took out against him. Interesting. Hey, I got some good news for you, honey. He's not going to be able to beat you from El Salvador. You're safe now. Play cut 371.
And I know this is a sensitive question, but I have to ask it. You did take out a temporary order of protection against your husband in 2021. Were you in fear of your husband?
My husband is alive. That's all I can say.
Okay. And you know, I'm not going to push on that, apparently. But
okay. Does that sound like a love story? Does that sound like someone who's really thrilled? My husband's alive. Well, you're much safer now. You took out a protective order against this guy. And I got to tell you, now all of a sudden, you are going to be in a much safer place. Now, she may have been threatened by other MS-13 gang members. She very well might have been threatened by other members of the gang. Let's get back down to fundamental elements here, though. If you're here in this country, illegally, you do not have a right to belong, period. The MS-13 wife-beating elements of this make it even more an easier argument for us to make. But the Democrat Party, this is their hill that they are dying on. Bukele says, how can I return him there? Play cut 201.
Suppose you're not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
I mean,
how can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
To smuggle him back to the United States. Email us, freedom@charliekirk.com. Subscribe to our podcast. We're going to talk about Canada next.
back to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. President Trump's Middle East peace envoy, Steve Witkoff, is headed to Rome tomorrow for talks with Iran. First, however, he met with two top Israeli officials in Paris today amid reported concerns from Israel that any nuclear agreement reached with the Iranians will be similar to the one signed under the Obama administration back in 2015, which President Trump eventually abandoned. Meantime, the U.S. continues sending messages to Iran through its proxies. You're looking at video from American airstrikes on a Yemeni oil port that was held by Houthi rebels. At least 74 people were killed, 171 others hurt in all of this. It is said to be the deadliest attack under President Trump's second term. In a brief statement following the attack, U.S. Central Command says U.S. forces took action to eliminate this source of fuel for the Iran-backed Houthi terrorists and deprive them of illegal revenue that has funded Houthi efforts to terrorize the entire region for over 10 years. The 26-year-old charged in the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson is one big step closer to being put to death if he is convicted of the crime. A hearing is scheduled for today as the suspect's lawyers are expected to ask a judge to prevent federal prosecutors from seeking the death penalty. Thursday, a federal grand jury indicted the accused killer, which sets the stage for federal prosecutors to pursue a death penalty case. The indictment means the federal grand jury found probable cause to charge the 26-year-old with murder, stalking, as well as firearms offenses. If convicted of those charges in the federal case, the jury would then be called on in a separate case to recommend the death penalty. The verdict would have to be unanimous, and the judge would be required to impose it. All of what I just mentioned only applies to the federal case, though there's still a separate state case against the accused murderer. Well, classes are canceled for today at Florida State University following Thursday's deadly shooting that left 2 people dead and at least 6 others hurt. Memorials around the campus continue to grow this morning, and the university's president is out with a statement saying that psychological and counseling services are available for students, faculty, and staff who are struggling with what happened. Investigators say the shooter is a 20-year-old student at that university. No motive has been released so far. That's a quick check of your headlines.
Working radio show in the business, The Charlie Kirk Show.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Hillsdale College. Check it out right now at charliefforhillsdale.com. That's CHARLIE for Hillsdale.com. History, economics, the great works of literature. Did you study these things in school? Probably not. Or even if you did, maybe it's time for an enjoyable refresher. Hillsdale College is offering more than 40 free online courses, including their newest course on totalitarian novels. In this 8-lecture course, you'll learn from Hillsdale College president Larry Arnn as he goes in depth on 4 novels, 1984, Brave New World, Darkness at Noon, and That Hideous Strength. Even though these novels were written in the 1930s and 40s, they are highly relevant today as they show what a tyrannical government does to human nature. Most importantly, they can show us that faith, family, and friends are worth fighting for. Maybe you read these books a long time ago in school. Maybe you've heard others talk about them, and they seem a little intimidating. Let Hillsdale College help you make the most of them. Go right now to charliefforhillsdale.com. That is charliefforhillsdale.com. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's charliefforhillsdale.com right now to register. CHARLIE for Hillsdale.com. Hillsdale is America's greatest college. Get engaged in it today. That is charliefforhillsdale.com. Email us, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to the Charlie Kirk Show podcast page. Canada is a mess, and it needs to be fixed badly. So joining us now is Maxime Bernier. I think I said that correctly. People's Party of Canada.ca. The election is on April 28th. Welcome, sir. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you very much, Charlie. I'm very pleased to be with you. That's a nice opportunity. Yes, I'm the leader of the People's Party of Canada. We are the populist, the free market political party that is fighting to keep and preserve our country and our Western civilization values. That movement in Canada, the populist movement, is growing, and we are in the middle of an election right now here in Canada. The election day will be April 28, not next Monday, but the Monday after. So I want to thank you because we are like, other populist party in Europe, canceled by the mainstream media. My goal is to speak about our platform and explain to Canadians, that there's only way to save this country is to end the mass immigration. That's something that is happening in Canada. We have mass immigration, and we are the only political party at the national level that is ready to have a moratorium on immigration to preserve our country.
Yeah, so talk more about that. What is it about Canada that Canada currently seems at least united with the Liberal Party about having foreigners come and replace native Canadians? Explain to our viewers the scale of this mass migration.
Yes, actually, Canada, we are 40 million people here in Canada, and the growth of our population last year was 2.7%. And if you compare that with the growth of the population in Western countries, that was 0.5%. So the growth of our population was 5 times bigger than the average growth of the Western countries. And actually, if you look at the data, 97% of the growth of our population is coming from immigration. So that is the replacement theory in action. If you have that for a couple of years, that will be the end of our country. So that's important. And actually 70% of Canadians are saying we must end mass immigration. But the two main political parties, the Conservative Party of Canada, they're fake conservative. And like in US, you have the Republican and the Rhino, Republican in name only. The Conservative Party of Canada is like that. They are conservative in name only. The Conservatives and the Liberals, both of them are okay with mass immigration. So our position is to end that because it's destroying the social fabric of our country. And, we are immigrants coming from Asia and other countries who don't share our values. We are bringing people from third world countries. And when you're doing that, your country, Canada, will become a third world country. And that's happening right now.
It is. So I want to play a piece of tape here that is from you with Tucker Carlson. And let's go here to your discussion with, let's play cut 357 as a nice segue.
And our position is, We're interrupting this program for a special live report.
All right, let's take you to Washington, D.C., to the nation's capital and the White House. President Trump at the podium.
Come a long way, huh? It's just amazing. Dr. Oz comes to this position as one of the nation's most talented and beloved medical professionals. He graduated from Harvard University. Harvard. Well, how convenient. Should we talk about Harvard? Before obtaining his MD at the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine, a great one, and really some amazing education while also earning an MBA from the wonderful Wharton School of Business. He completed his medical residency at the world-renowned New York Presbyterian Columbia University Medical Center. Dr. Oz then had a sterling medical career in which he became an internationally acclaimed heart and lung surgeon, highly respected. He served as director of the Cardiovascular Institute and integrative medicine program at New York Presbyterian, and as a longtime professor at Columbia University's College of Physicians and Surgeons. Boy, oh boy. Doctor, I thought he just did a show. I only know the show. You know why I know the show? Because he said, I'm a little overweight. I should lose some weight. I did a show, and that's what I got out of it. That was not good. But I'm looking at all of this other. This is very impressive. Dr. Oz authored more than 400 contributions to academic and scientific publications and holds several patents for technologies that revolutionize cardiovascular surgery. And Dr. Oz later translated his experience into an extraordinarily successful television career, making him one of the most trusted voices on healthcare. And he also got very high ratings, I can tell you that. He did great with the television thing. As CMS Administrator, Dr. Oz will work tirelessly to strengthen and protect Medicare for our nation's seniors and Medicaid for the needy. just as I promised, there will be no cuts. We're not going to have any cuts. We're going to have only help. Dr. Oz will work to improve the quality of care for decades to come, and he'll ensure that criminals, fraudsters, and illegal aliens are not permitted to rob America's seniors. They are trying, but they're not going to get away with it. He will also work alongside Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I've heard of him. He's a pretty famous guy. He's doing a great job, too, to address the crisis of chronic illness and to make America healthy again. So I want to just thank Dr. Oz, and because this is a big commitment he's making. He has a lot of options, and this is a big, big commitment. And I want to congratulate you and your family on really an amazing life. And I think this is going to be by far the most important part of an already incredible life. So thank you very much.
God bless
you, my friend. Thank you very much. Take care of yourself. Congratulations. It's amazing. Congratulations. Wow. What a job, huh? Are you ready, Bobby?
I sure am.
Let's do it.
You put your hand on the Bible, your left hand, and raise your right hand. And repeat after me. I, Mehmet Oz, do solemnly swear.
I, Mehmet Oz, do solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully.
And that I will well and faithfully.
Discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
Discharge the duties of the office upon I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. God bless you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, brother. I've got to start off by thanking three people. Mr. President, thank you very much. God bless you for leading our nation, but also courageously leading the MAHA movement, really earnestly in your heart wanting to get America to be healthy again, and for giving me an opportunity to help with that mission. Secretary Kennedy has been leading the charge at Health and Human Services. A dear friend, like a brother, has done unbelievably courageous work because he's curious and he's started answering a lot of important questions. And I will treasure for the rest of my days your trust in me to help you with this progress. Thank you. And of course, Lisa, the family, but Lisa in particular, who's had an uncanny ability to identify opportunities and to always keep a clear North Star to keep our family grounded. God bless you, my beautiful one. Let me start with a simple premise. Every great society, everyone, has an opportunity to take care of its most vulnerable and treasures that opportunity. And we're a great people, so we will do the same. As we enter the main building, the Humphreys building, where Health and Human Services is located, there's a placard of Hubert Humphrey, and it says that it's a moral opportunity, a moral obligation of government to take care of people in the dawn of their life, the kids, in the twilight of their life, the elderly, the mature, the seniors, and those in the shadows of life, those struggling with disabilities. We want to provide America with access to great care. We want to save the public health insurance programs of this country. That's what President Trump asked me to do when he took this position to administer the programs at CMS. Now, if we're going to do that, you've got to be honest with each other. And a physician, President Trump, has to always do that, right? We've got to share news, so do presidents, that folks don't want to hear, but it's important for our well-being. So I'm going to give you 4 bullet points to remember. Bullet point number 1, and they're all numbered in order for a reason. Medicaid is the #1 budget item for many states, and it is crowding out education and other important social programs. The states are having a big problem, and that's with the federal government paying most of the bill. Item number 2, healthcare expenditures are increasing at 2% higher than the economy is growing. And because of that, we spend more than 2 times per person on health care than any other country on the planet, and we're not getting value for that. Because number 3 is that we are, in America, experiencing an unfortunate problem, which is medical errors are the #3 cause of death. Did you know that, Mr. President? It's surprising with that much money invested, we're still having problems. And number 4, our life expectancy, despite all this investment, is continuing to slip back. We're now more than 4 years shorter in our life expectancy than countries that we used to be equal to. But I am optimistic. Why? Because we control our destiny. Because at its very core, we have a generational opportunity, a unique ability to save the healthcare system because we control all the big pieces. America is too great for small dreams. So I've got some big ideas that I'd like to share that we've worked through with my staff who are cordoned off over there, and there's a lot of us. We've got almost more than 6,000 people at CMS working on this and 40,000 contractors helping. So we've got a lot of people. What are we going to do? First, we're going to reduce chronic disease. How do you do that? 70% of the healthcare expenditures of this country are driven by chronic disease. And it is your patriotic duty, I'll say it again, the patriotic duty of all Americans to take care of themselves, because it's important for serving in the military, but it's also important because healthy people don't consume healthcare resources. The best way to reduce drug spending is to use less drugs because you don't need them because you're healthy. And it feels a lot better as well. The President and Secretary Kennedy have been pushing the MAHA agenda because it makes it easier for people to do the right thing, especially the mothers of this great land, because they're the ones who really get caught with this responsibility. They're the ones deciding for their kids. They're the ones we want to empower. And curiosity, which is the key word here, truly asking questions you want the answers to, will allow the MAHA movement to thrive. The next big thing we want to focus on is modernizing Medicare and Medicaid. That's how Americans will get the care that they want, need, and deserve. We need to empower patients and providers, both. The doctors and the patients both have to be equipped with better tools. And the president is showing that he actually does love and cherish Medicare with all these executive orders, like the one on transparency, sir, that really helps us by making sure people are equipped with information. So you shine a light in the dark shadows where so much of the problems happen with the healthcare system. And remember, the most expensive care is bad quality care. That's what we want to stamp out. And finally, we want to crush fraud, waste, and abuse. This is stunning to me. And I've got a message for all the bad guys from me, the Secretary, and the President. We are going to stop people from stealing from our most vulnerable, from stealing with the taxpayers of America, or honestly trying to support these programs. And we're going to be able to do it in quite a few ways. We are coming for you. And I'll give you a couple examples. Mr. President, these are ones that you may want to use in some of your future conversations. Almost 250,000 people, American citizens, were fraudulently enrolled without their knowledge in exchange programs by brokers who were unscrupulous, stealing from the U.S. government by pretending these people were on programs they never told them about. Tens of millions of dollars, Mr. President, are being spent on illegal immigrants receiving Medicaid in California, and they're pushing the bill to us. Should we stop that? I think so. That will not continue. We're spending about $1 billion on Medicaid programs for dual state eligible patients, which means you live in one state, but the system thinks you're another state and maybe a third state, and we're paying all 3 states for services you're not getting because you don't live in 3 states all at once. And finally, and this one really bothers me, there are states who are using Medicaid dollars for people who are vulnerable are being used for non-medical purposes. For example, public labor unions are getting child care through some of this money. That doesn't make sense to me. Housekeeping, I wish I could get that for my home. There's a big problem with student loan repayments taking place with Medicaid dollars. That's not where it should be used. And we are paying for DEI programs. I could go on, but these are all programs, Mr. President, that we have created a war room at CMS to go after, to catch the fraud in real time before the money leaves the federal coffers. So we have the money to reinvest in healthcare to make it even stronger than it's been before. Together, we're going to make the care better. We're going to make the outcomes improve, and we're going to make sure that America can actually be the healthiest country that could ever possibly be. We'll make America healthy again. God bless you both, sir.
Okay.
Mr. President, Secretary Rubio said that the U.S. will have to figure out whether a deal can be done between Russia and Ukraine in a matter of days, or you will just move on.
Yeah, very short.
How many days is that?
No specific number of days, but quickly. We want to get it done. We're talking about here people dying, and we're talking about over there people are dying also, like on average 2,500 young people, soldiers. They're not from America. They're not from anywhere else other than Ukraine and Russia. But we want to save these lives. So it's 2,500 a week are being killed in battle. It's a vicious battle with the best equipment, the best everything, and it is brutal. 2,500 young people a week. Some of them not so young, actually. They're getting older. They're getting older by the month. But 2,500 a week, and we're going to get it stopped ideally. Now, if for some reason one of the two parties makes it very difficult, we're just going to say you're foolish, you're fools, you're horrible people, and we're going to just take a pass. But hopefully we won't have to do that. Now, Marco's right in saying it. We want to see it end. Think of it. Every day, a lot of people are being killed as we talk about, as they play games. So we're not going to take that, and we'll see. I think we have a good chance of solving the problem, however. Yeah.
Are you prepared to walk away completely from these efforts and these talks?
Well, I don't want to say that, but we want to see it end. We want to see it end, yeah.
Is Vladimir Putin stalling, in your view, Mr. President?
I hope not. We're going to let you know about that soon if he is, but I hope not. He's got a big force out there, big force. It's a war that should have never happened. It would have never happened if I was president. That's a war, and it didn't happen for 4 years. That's a war that should have never happened. October 7th, Israel would have never happened. Iran was broke, and now we'll see what happens with Iran. We have a lot of them out there. We have a lot of things that we're working on right now that shouldn't have happened. None of it. Ukraine would have never happened with Russia. October 7th would have never happened, so you wouldn't have had all the problems in the Middle East. The Afghanistan embarrassment, probably the most embarrassing day in the history of our country, would have never happened. Inflation would have never happened. By the way, prices are down. Groceries are down. Eggs, which you hit me so hard, I'll never forget the first week in office, they were screaming at me about eggs. I said, what's going on with eggs? They were doubling and tripling. I said, I just got here. They were up like double, triple, and you couldn't get any. They said, you won't have eggs for Easter. Well, you can have all the eggs you want. I'll tell you, Brooke Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture, did a great job. And the egg prices are down 87%. But nobody talks about that. You can have all the eggs you want. We have too many eggs. In fact, if anything, the prices are getting too low. So I just want to let you know, prices are down. Gasoline yesterday in 3 states hit $1.98 a gallon. And it looks like it's at a level that it hasn't seen since my days, my 4 years. So it's about I'd say maybe, I think we're going to be averaging $2.25 very soon. So I just want to let you know, though, because I keep hearing about prices and inflation. Prices are coming down, not going up. Only the fake news says they're going up. The only thing that's even are interest rates. And if we had a Fed chairman that understood what he was doing, interest rates would be coming down too. He should bring them down. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, what do you need to see from both sides in order to keep negotiations going? What do you want to see from Russia and Ukraine?
I have to see. My whole life has been one big negotiation, and I know when people are playing us, and I know when they're not, and I have to see an enthusiasm to want to end it. And I think I see that enthusiasm. I think I see it from both sides.
Do you think Russia?
But you're going to know soon.
Do you think Russia's playing you?
No, nobody's playing me. I'm trying to help. This was Biden's war. By the way, by me getting involved, they'll say, oh, Trump. This is not Trump's war. This is Biden. This is a war that should have never happened. Okay? Think of it. Those cities are crushed and crashed, and all those beautiful steeples, the most beautiful in the world, actually considered the most beautiful in the world, most of them are now smashed to smithereens, as they say, and lying on the ground in a million pieces. Those towns are crushed, the whole place. It's so horrible. And millions of people are dead, far more than you think. That's one thing you're going to get out of this war. You're going to find out that your estimates are far lower than, it's far worse than people think. Nobody's playing anybody. We are going to see if we can get it done. I think we have a really good chance of getting it done, and it's coming to a head right now.
If you do support Ukraine militarily,
say it.
If you do decide to move on and take the pass, Mr. President, would you then continue to support Ukraine?
Well, I'm not going to say that because I think we're going to get it done.
Here's a group of Venezuelan men down in Texas who have been alerted that they are soon going to be deported under the Alien Enemies Act. Have you authorized that operation?
I don't know about the group you're talking about, but if they're bad people, I would certainly authorize it, yeah. You know, I won an election in a landslide. We won all 7 swing states. We won by millions of votes. We won 2,750 districts to 505 districts. 2,750 to 505. That's why the map, when you look at it, is all red. And one of the biggest reason, I think the biggest single reason, actually, I'd like to say it's because of this, because I think they're going to come up with things that are incredible. But probably the biggest reason was because of the border and because of illegal immigration. And the people of this country want those people out. Because what Biden did, and I don't know if he did it, I'm not even sure he knows what the hell he was doing, but what his people did, representing him, was allow millions and millions of people from jails, from prisons all over the world, people from mental institutions and insane asylums, gang members, drug dealers, pouring into our place. And you know what? Our people voted for me to get them out. They want them out. They want them out. And we've done a hell of a job. And by the way, Ecuador and various places, but El Salvador, we've been helped by a lot of other states where they're helping us, actually, because you couldn't look what this man was thinking when they allowed open borders and people to come in. If you look at Venezuela, their crime is down by 72%. You know why? They took all their criminals off the street. They took all their prisoners from jail. They took murders. 11,088 murderers were released into our country. Bad things are going to happen. Bad things. And we're getting them out. And that's why I was elected. A judge wasn't elected to do that. I was elected to do that. And we're doing it in record fashion. We have the safest border, the most secure border we've ever had. See the Declaration of Independence? You should all read that before you leave. That's the real deal. You should all read it before you leave. Yeah. Sir, go ahead, please.
Photos have emerged of Senator Van Hollen sipping what appears to be margaritas with Abrego Garcia down in El Salvador. Do you encourage other Democrats to fly down to El Salvador to meet with this illegal alien who's been accused of...
I like this guy. See, now, this is the kind of a reporter we like. There aren't enough of them. We got to get some more of them. But, no, I appreciate that question. No, look, he's a fake. I know him. I know them all. They're all fake. And they have no interest in that prisoner. That prisoner's record is unbelievably bad. If you would go into the room, you might, if you would, Caroline, maybe go into the room and see if you can find that little slip. I wrote some things down. I don't know why you'd want to keep him. But we got a little biography of him. Not a very innocent guy. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, in the spirit of Easter Sunday.
While we're on the subject, right? So you're talking about Abrego Garcia. Is that the one? Yeah. Is an illegal alien, MS-13 gang member and foreign terrorist. This comes out of the State Department and very legitimate sources. I mean, I assume I'm just giving you what they handed to me, but this was supposed to be certified stuff. In 2019, Garcia was issued a deportation order. 2 separate judges affirmed Garcia was a member of MS-13, which is a gang that may be even worse than Tren de Aragua, and maybe worse. They kill people with knives because it's more painful. Very famous for the knifing and killing of 2 young 16-year-old girls walking to school one day, and they sliced them up into little pieces and killed them. That's MS-13. And 2 separate judges affirmed Garcia was a member of MS-13. When Garcia was originally arrested, he was wearing a sweatshirt with rolls of money pouring out, an MS-13 gang symbol that he was driving with 2 other known violent MS-13 gang members, 2 of the most violent members that we know of in the MS-13 gang of thugs. In 2022, Garcia was stopped by the Tennessee Highway Patrol and was found to be transporting 7 people from Texas to Maryland, and he had no driver's license. He was driving violently. In 2020 and 2021, Garcia's wife filed for a protective order from him and said he was violent and abusive and really scary, including allegations that he punched and scratched her on the eye, left her bleeding after throwing her laptop on the floor at her, ripped her shirt, and ripped off her shorts. He then grabbed her arm, leaving very severe marks. Garcia's wife also wrote in court, "At this point, I am afraid to be close to him. I just don't want to be close. I have multiple photos and videos, how violent he can be, and all of the bruises that he's left on me." She just couldn't get anywhere near him. This is the man that the Democrats are wanting us to fly back from El Salvador to be a happily ensconced member of the USA family. Isn't it a shame? And by the way, I've been hit pretty hard by fake shows, fake news, MSDNC in particular, where they talk about how evil I am, that this man would be thrown out of our country. This man is according to certified statements that we get, is a very violent person. And they want this man to be brought back into our country where he can be free and to stay as a happily Maryland, they call him the Maryland man. He's a Maryland father. No, this is a violent person. Who they don't talk about is that wonderful angel mom who lost her daughter, who had 5 beautiful children, and she was killed violently. And, she spoke, and she spoke unbelievably. I saw it. And the fake news didn't pick it up. She spoke. She was in tears. She's devastated. Her life is, essentially, she's told me her life is like over. But there was I think no stories. Isn't that true? No stories. 0 stories. It was the most emotional thing. Everybody that watched it, they couldn't believe it. The fake news refused to put it up. So it's very sad. And yet they talk about this guy like he's an angel. See the angel up there? They think he's like that, like a little angel.
Would you be open
It has no impact the way she did. Look at her. No impact. It's just unbalanced. Would you do the? Go ahead. What I would do.
On Iran, would you be open to letting Iran keep some kind of civil nuclear program?
No impact whatsoever.
Or would the entire program need to be dismantled?
I'm for stopping Iran very simply from having a nuclear weapon. They can't have a nuclear weapon. I want Iran to be great and prosperous and terrific. I stopped them once they were broke and they didn't have any money for Hamas. They didn't have any money for Hezbollah. There wouldn't have been an October 7th disaster. They were broke. They had no money, and they weren't spending it to terrorist organizations because they had none. When Biden came in, he took all the sanctions off. China wasn't allowed to buy. I said, if you buy, because they're their biggest customer, I said, you buy 1 barrel of oil, just 1 barrel of oil from Iran, and you can't do business in the United States. And by the way, we have nice conversations going with China just to intercede. It's really very good. But with Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon, and if they have a nuclear weapon, you'll all be very unhappy. You'll all be very unhappy because your life will be in great danger. Yeah. Oh.
Press out, press out.
So that was President Trump speaking there in the White House. You just heard him addressing a number of issues, everything from the situation between Russia and Ukraine and the fact that a ceasefire deal has not been able to be brokered. He also talked about the dangers of the dangerous Mexican South American gang MS-13 here in the United States and some of the issues related to that, particularly that Maryland man who, as the president said, has been dangerous for years, and the fact that there's an effort on the part of Democrats to bring him back. All of this, by the way, happening during the swearing-in ceremony of Dr. Mehmet Oz, who has been sworn in as the head of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. We'll have more for you throughout the day here on Real America's Voice.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Email us, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com. It's the last hour of quite an eventful hour brought to you by Bitcoin.com. That is Bitcoin.com, your gateway to democratized finance. I want to tell you a little bit more about Bitcoin. You could buy, sell, and manage Bitcoin all in one place at Bitcoin.com. And we're live in the Bitcoin.com studio. Great friends and partners, so check out Bitcoin.com. This hour is brought to you by all of our members as well. So if you are a member, you get to ask questions live on the Charlie Kirk Show all hour. It is the members call, members.charliekirk.com. That is members.charliekirk.com. The first question is from Anthony. Anthony, thank you for being a member. What is on your mind, my friend?
Hi, Charlie. Two quick questions. So one has to do with the issues in the colleges that like we see at Harvard and everything, and all the problems that they've created with the protests that they don't want to get rid of over hatred speech towards Jewish or a certain group. The second question also is, what is up with all of the other side of politicians wanting these gang members to stay? Because I'm seeing it with local Democrat politicians in my area that are legislators that are saying like they support these illegals and basically kicking their voters to the curb.
Yeah, I try to understand the Democrat mind. I seek to be an expert in the liberal consciousness. And it's a tough one, man. How they could get so excited and so fired up. At some point, look, at some point, if you're a liberal, you want to oppose Trump. I get that. You got nothing on your side. You want to oppose Trump. Fine, whatever. Okay. You want to oppose the current party in power. You try to find.
We kind of opposed Joe Biden when he was president too, so he goes back and forth.
But you try to find stories that you can attach yourself to because Democrats need symbols. Democrats need symbols and they need stories. They need George Floyd or they need Michael Brown. That's how the Democrat operation is configured. It's how it's constituted. What's been really amazing is how at no point somebody in the Democrat Party would have whispered, hey, guys, this isn't a great one.
It's common sense.
Not a Maryland dad, MS-13 member, wife beater, restraining order. Just got to kind of not great. Not great. And instead, they're going all in on this guy. And at some point, they should have said, wait a second. Probably not a good one to go all in on a foreigner that's here illegally that also committed crimes and was part of MS-13. So it's shocking, breathtaking, actually. Secondly, to your other comment, which was what?
Regarding, like we're talking, seeing Harvard, Columbia, and all these schools that are losing money now. And I'm going to say this, I deal with them on a business level, so I kind of have to be very careful. Like, where do they come and say, like, okay, we need to stop. We're losing money now.
Yes, and I don't think they're going to stop. They are married to their Ivy League smugness, to their pomposity, to their groupthink. I don't think that there is going to be any recalibration. They're going to fight this, and they need federal money. They need taxpayer money significantly. There is another thing I want to mention about Van Hollen. He said, quote, I'm not here to endorse any set of facts. I'm here just endorsing the judicial system and due process. He's already starting to walk back because I think top-level Democrats are whispering, hey, not a great fight for us. Not a great fight for us. Anthony, thanks for being a member, my friend. Really appreciate it. Thanks, email us, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. Become a member, members.charliekirk.com. Who is next? Shannon. Shannon, thank you for being a member. Shannon, what is on your mind?
Hi, Charlie, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm calling from Texas. I'm a Taiwanese by birth and a patriot by choice. And I know that when President Trump took office, he was trolling Canada and he was talking about annexing Canada. And this is our proposition. Forget about Canada. Take Taiwan instead. And I'd like to give you a little background if I can.
Please.
Okay, I flew to Taiwan with my husband in February to visit my mom-in-law. And while I was there, I became reconnected with an old friend who's now elected the chairwoman of the Formosa Alliance, a very small but pro-American party based in Taiwan. And she's arguably the most pro-Trump Taiwanese I know. And she's faithfully followed his every move over the past 4 years. And I believe God has a hand in all of this. So Formosa Alliance's former chairman, Reverend Lowe, is hoping to come to the National Prayer Breakfast next spring. And the founder of the party, Dr. George, is also a Christian and a developer, no less. So we at the Alliance are concerned that Taiwan's ruling Democratic Progressive Party being factually and heavily infiltrated by Chinese operatives. And plenty of the lawmakers have business dealings with China. So Ms. Xiao, this friend that I mentioned earlier, wants to develop greater ties with grassroots Republican organizations. And I told them about you. With that, the Alliance has paid for this membership, and we hope to work with you on a closer level.
Well, I would love that. So I have a soft spot for the people of Taiwan. I would say, sadly, if we took Taiwan, it would probably start a nuclear war. Our leaders have largely mishandled China. We probably should have taken it in 1950, right after World War II. The Taiwanese people are phenomenal. I stand with Taiwan. You guys should never be part of mainland, the Chinese Communist Party. And I think Taiwan, the actual, is the Republic of China, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, you're not. But that's where the controversy came in, because that was the republic that the warlord Chiang Kai-shek set up before his defeat by Mao Zedong, by the Communist Party.
Right. And so Taiwan is much more of a free society than the Chinese Communist Party. You know, I do feel called to visit Taiwan at some point. I want to see it for myself. I hear wonderful things. And so insofar, you might be able to help arrange that. I am going to Asia in late August and early September. I'm supposed to go to Korea, I'm supposed to go to Japan. So it'd be very interesting if I stopped by Taiwan. It is regional. And so,
yes, it is.
And I would love to learn there. Yes. Other thoughts?
Okay, going back to what you said earlier concerning the peace treaty. Okay, according to Article 4B of the San Francisco Peace Treaty of 1952, the disposition of both the Ryukyus, that's Japan, and Taiwan, which were Japanese property, are subject to the directives of the United States military government. So the specifications in the treaty elevate the Ryukyus to the status of the United Nations trusteeship while continuing under the jurisdiction of USMG. For Taiwan, however, with no formal trusteeship agreement in place, a correct description of Taiwan's international legal status is quasi-trusteeship under USMG.
Yep.
But there has not been a formal conclusion of the USMG jurisdiction over Taiwan. If no such announcement has ever been made, that possibly suggests that Taiwan is an overseas territory of the U.S.
Got it.
So, with that being said, a historian in Taiwan has developed a set of robustly researched and legally based laws about U.S. rightfully taking over Taiwan. So, is there a person or an organization you can? You can direct us to, we can speak to?
Yes. I mean, look, there's a lot of people in the administration that are talking about Taiwan or thinking about it. I just want to caution some of what you're saying. The Chinese Communist Party believes it's theirs. And so any actions that America will do towards Taiwan could be seen as a direct invasion or military threat against the Chinese Communist Party. But we're happy to connect you. And thank you so much, Shannon, for being a member. And I love Taiwan. Thank you. Email us, freedom@charliekirk.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Become a member today, members.charliekirk.com. What do you guys think? Do you guys think I should visit Taiwan? I don't know how out of the way it is. I just, there are flights from Seoul to Taiwan. Okay. There you go. Be very interesting. Subscribe to the Charlie Kirk Show podcast page. Just a hop and a skip of a jump from Seoul. I really can't wait. I've always been distantly fascinated by Asia. It is amazing to me how countries can work. They have trains, they have planes, they got incredible high-speed rail, very low crime. I want to see it for myself. I'm very, very interested. And we'll be seeing that in Seoul and Tokyo and maybe Taiwan, Taipei. We'll see. Tax Network USA. Check it out right now. Tax Network USA. You missed the IRS deadline and think it'll go away. Think again, the IRS doesn't mess around, and they're applying pressure like we haven't seen in years. So you haven't filed in a while, even if you can't pay. Don't wait and don't face the IRS alone. You need the trusted experts by your side, and that is Tax Network USA. Tax Network USA isn't like the other tax relief companies. They have an edge, which is a preferred direct line to the IRS. They know which agents to talk to and which ones to avoid. Go to Tax Network USA. That's tnusa.com/Charlie. Tax Network USA at 1-800-958-1000. That's 1-800-958-1000. tnusa.com/Charlie. That is tnusa.com/Charlie. Don't wait on this. It'll only get worse. Call Tax Network USA right now, whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million. That is tnusa.com/Charlie. Email us freedom@charliekirk.com. Subscribe to the Charlie Kirk Show podcast page. We'll be right back.
Regime is falling, the citizen is rising, and Charlie Kirk is leading the way.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Email us, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. Let's show that picture from Washington State again yesterday. This is brought to you by Y-Refi. It's just a phenomenal turnout. Look at that. YRefi.com. Private student loan debt in America totals about $300 billion. About $45 billion of that is labeled as distressed. This really is, this is earth-shattering stuff. This campus tour has just been so groundbreaking, even more so than the fall. And I got to thank Y-Refi for making it possible. I have a lot to say about this campus tour. I'm going to save it till it's over because it's still ongoing. We still have 7 stops remaining, believe it or not. And I told the team, I said, I actually want to do more stops in the spring than the fall because I have a feeling it's going to be even bigger in the spring than the fall. People said, oh, there's no way. I said, I have a feeling, and I'll tell you more about that, but whyrefi.com. If you have private student loan debt, again, Why makes this all possible. So thank you, guys. Why is the top sponsor. If you know anybody with private student loan debt, direct them to the great people at whyrefi.com, YREFY.com. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Email us freedom@charliekirk.com. We're here live in the bitcoin.com studio. I love our members call, so let's keep it going. Josh, thank you for being a member. Members.charliekirk.com. What's on your mind?
Hey, Charlie. So first off, I just wanted to say that I've actually been approached recently about starting a TPUSA chapter at my college, which is a extremely liberal college in Tennessee, so hoping to be able to at least establish that. But my main question is, we have seen recently, especially more recently than not, these lifelong Democrats and Republicans just staying in Senate and Congress, not stepping down, even though they are clearly kind of overdoing it and are just maybe doing it for personal glory, money laundering, all the wonderful stuff that they actually do. So how do we actually have them impose term limits in Senate and Congress? I know we could go states convention, but we're about 7 states short last I knew. So is there any other way we could potentially go about getting this as a mainstream problem?
This is one of the great ironies and paradoxes of Congress. In order to get Congress to retire itself via term limits, it has to vote on it, therefore retiring themselves. The best proposal I've seen with term limits, and I think that J.D. Vance, when he runs for president 2028, should run on congressional term limits. I think it should be a core pillar part of his campaign. It is a populist message. I think he should say day one of his presidency, he will submit a term limits bill. It's incredibly popular. Term limits is an 80-20 issue. It transcends political lines. The only way, however, that this can work, the only way it can work, Josh, is if it only goes into effect with future members. So if you are some octogenarian like McConnell or Grassley, you guys are not term limited. Therefore, they don't have to retire themselves. That's the only way that I've ever had it, is that current members are exempt. They're grandfathered in, which I honestly think is morally pretty fair because they were elected with different rules, but future members are term limited. I think it should be probably 2 terms or maybe 3 for a U.S. senator, and then I think 3 or 4 for a member of Congress. I do want to caution everybody, though, this will not fix all of our problems. California has strict term limits, and they are completely messed up. Term limits are not a skeletal key to a free society. It does help a lot, though, and we also need much stricter prohibitions on members of Congress's staff from becoming lobbyists. We need more of a cooling off period, maybe a 5 to 10 year window. We need to make it so that the member staff actually have term limits, that you can't work on the Hill for maybe more than 10 years. That has some very serious controversy around it. But generally, I think we do need term limits. I think term limits do work. And I think that it's a great way to hold the swamp accountable. Thank you for being a member. Lizzie, what is on your mind? Thank you for being a member. Members.charliekirk.com.
Hey, Charlie. Happy Good Friday.
Happy Good Friday to you. I hope your Holy Week has been profound and holy. What is on your mind? Thank you for saying that.
Very much so. Yeah, actually, on that topic, as we are celebrating and observing this blessed time of year, which is Holy Week, what is a hymn that you look forward to singing on Easter Sunday?
Well, I love that question. I will tell you, I don't really go to churches that sing hymns as much as they should. I will say that I love, regardless of the circumstance, the hymn Amazing Grace. I think that would be considered a hymn, right? Is that
absolutely?
I think Amazing Grace, regardless of the time or circumstance that it is sung in, it is spectacular. It just hits it perfectly. And in my conversation with Bill Maher that will air on Sunday, I tried to explain the concept of grace to him, and he was rather mystified by it. He said, well, what is this grace thing? And I clumsily did my best to try to explain what grace is. But in the Christian concept, grace is this remarkable idea that Jesus atones for our sins and that our slate is washed clean. So I love Easter. I love the resurrection. And also, just so everyone's clear, they say, oh, Easter is pagan. Hold on a second. The term Easter was a pagan term that was redeemed. But no, Easter itself is actually always aligning with the Jewish Passover, Pesach, which is happening this week as well, that those two things are always overlaid with one another. And the resurrection and the promise of Jesus, honestly, can be best described as a fresh start, as a reset. It's a beautiful idea, and it's a truism that has captivated billions of people throughout time. I will say also, and yes, Blake reminded me of this, the Hallelujah chorus is played at Christmas, but it's actually an Easter piece. I love Handel. Oh, so I encourage people to check it out.
Yes.
Thank you for being a member. God bless, and we continue after the break.
To this Real America's Voice news break, I'm Terrence Bates. Classes are canceled for today at Florida State University following Thursday's deadly shooting that left 2 people dead and at least 6 others hurt. Memorials around the campus continue to grow, and the university's president is out with a statement saying that psychological and counseling services are available for students, faculty, and staff who are struggling with what happened. Investigators say the shooter is a 20-year-old student at the university. However, no motive has been released so far. You can hear the gunshots as they were happening. The alleged killer reportedly got access to the gun used in the attack from his mother, who owns that weapon. Investigators say she had been an 18-year veteran of the local sheriff's office and described her as a model employee. The downsizing of the federal government continues, with the U.S. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau being virtually gutted and shuttered. The watchdog agency aimed at helping protect American consumers against predatory business practices is reportedly planning to lay off 90% of its remaining workforce. A spokesperson for the agency confirms about 1,500 employees across core divisions, including enforcement and supervision, are said to be pink-slipped. Only about 200 staff members will remain. Tax day may have passed, but for millions of Americans, the real trouble is just now beginning. If you happen to miss the April 15th deadline, or if you still owe back taxes, well, the IRS is ramping up enforcement. Every day you wait only makes things worse. With over 5,000 new tax liens filed every day and tools like property seizures, bank levies, and wage garnishments, the IRS is applying pressure at levels we haven't seen in years. Increased administrative scrutiny means collections are moving fast. Here's the good news, though. There's still time for Tax Network USA to help you out. If you're self-employed or a business owner, even if your books are a mess, they've got you covered. Tax Network USA specializes in cleaning up financial chaos and getting you back on track fast. Even after the deadline, it's not too late to regain control. Your consultation is completely free, and acting now could stop penalties, threatening letters, and surprise levies before they escalate. Here's the number to call for more information: 800-905-8000, or you can go online and visit tnusa.com/RAV. You may have missed the April 15th deadline, but you haven't run out of options just yet. Let Tax Network USA help before the IRS makes the next move.
Where tyranny dies and wisdom lives. The Charlie Kirk Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Email us, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. That is the Charlie Kirk Show podcast page. Become a member, members.charliekirk.com. What do we have, guys, here? Herzog Foundation. Herzog are wonderful partners of us at Turning Point Academy. Turning Point Academy, we deserve a whole show to talk about Turning Point Academy, honestly. The team is doing great. Hutz and the entire gang there, they're doing wonderful. With the Trump administration working to abolish the federal Department of Education, return control to the states, there's never been a better time to explore Christian education. For too long, federal overreach has dictated how children learn, but now parents have a greater say in their child's and kids' future. The Herzog Foundation is your trusted guide to navigating these changes, whether families are considering a Christian school, a hybrid model, or homeschooling. They provide the resources families need to make the most informed decisions. Visit readlion.com to access must-read articles, and don't forget to sign up for the Lion's daily and weekly newsletters. That is readlion.com. Stay informed, stay equipped, and shape your child's future. That is readlion.com. So take a look at it right now, readlion.com. They are wonderful, readlion.com. Email me, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to the Charlie Kirk Show podcast. Dave, you are next. Dave, thank you for being a member. Hope you're having a good Holy Week. What is on your mind?
It is wonderful, Charlie, and thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to get your take real quick on the Nebraska winner take all. Seems like this one kind of snuck its way in there, Charlie, and I don't know, feels like here we go again. I saw one of the senators say this morning, out of 135 people from my district who called in, only 9 supported winner take all. The contempt these people have, Charlie, just seems palpable. What do we do moving forward to shore up our own states?
Oh my goodness, I have been distracted, quite honestly, and it's not an election year. So debate over a bill to turn Nebraska into winner take all continued in the legislature. Just after 5:30, the cloture vote failed, 31-18, meaning Nebraska will stick with its current system. 33 votes. I'll be very honest. I know these guys. I met Merv, and I met. I actually didn't meet Dave Wordkemper, joined the Democrat majority. I'll be very honest with you. I became so cynical about Nebraska politics after my short stint and time there that I did not get engaged in this spring. Dare I say, a lot of them are a bunch of losers, and I have a lot of other stuff that we're dealing with right now. it's very disappointing that Nebraska cannot get together and do this. They can't see the forest from the trees. It's not over in the sense that, look, it will remain its system, but they're so focused on their peculiar issues and their petty rivalries and their own little fiefdoms and their own little he said, she said nonsense. We spent a whole weekend right before the election. We took our entire team to Lincoln, and I met with the governor, who was fine on this. Governor Pillen was fine. And I went to a Nebraska football game, which is where, if you want to talk to Nebraska lawmakers, I went literally box after box. I literally went in the skyboxes trying to find legislators and convince them to go winner take all. And the number one reason I got? One of them said, I don't want to do this because the backlash might be very similar to the trans vote, and I don't like controversy.
Yeah, it just feels like the cycle, Charlie, repeating over again, right? This reminds me of Bush 2000, promises, it heats up, then it goes away, everybody forgets about it, and guess what we're going to have? Let's just say Trump runs again in 28, where we're going to go through this argument again. And everyone's going to get hot. So great point. And I will say this, that if this is not fixed by 2027, we're going to go raise some money and we're going to give a really good shot at it. We have not been involved in this spring. I'll be honest. We kind of emptied our clip, if you will, emptied our magazine metaphorically back in the fall. And I was like, I don't know how much I can actually help this spring. They're going to just think I'm being annoying. And honestly, I'm just kind of out on Nebraska politics for the time being. It's not my state. I try to get them to do this. It's so self-evidently the right decision. But we're going to re-engage and try to get it done. Because look, with J.D. Vance, what if J.D. Vance, the same thing, here we go again, right? And these losers in Nebraska can't get their act together. Well, I love hearing it. It just seemed like it snuck in.
Really great question. Thank you for that. And I haven't been paying attention a lot, largely because of how scorned and bitter I became after spending time doing this in the fall. But look, I also want to say, to your credit, I'm very much happy how much people still care about this. The people understand this matters. And I am curious, could we give it a go at it back in 2026, Blake? Because I think they still convene special. I think they still do a session in 2026. I don't know how often they meet. And a big rally could be fun. Actually, that's a really good members call. Thank you for that. And I'm glad you care. Okay. Let's go to Jonathan. Jonathan, thank you for being a member. My team has sent me something about you and your dad coming to AmFest and something that happened, but you wanted to ask me a question in the members room. So I hope your dad is okay. I heard he had a heart attack. Is that correct? Jonathan, thank you for being here. What's going on?
I actually am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Hello? Okay, great. So, yeah, I'm actually the guy, I don't know if you remember or not, I actually got to ask Ben Shapiro a question on the Israel-Palestine war back at AmFest in Arizona, and that was excellent. I had a great time that whole time. I was wondering what the next big Trump event is so I can actually take my dad to an excellent, he's fine now, but I want to take him to an excellent new event that he can actually enjoy himself.
Absolutely. So I will say that the next big event that you guys can attend, and we'll give you both free tickets because of what you had to go through with your dad's heart attack, is our SAS event that is in Tampa, Florida. It's our Student Action Summit in July. It's July 11th, 12th, and 13th. Daisy will reach out to you, and we'd love to give you some complimentary tickets. And for those of you in the audience, it might be called the Student Action Summit, and it's primarily students, but people of all ages are able to attend. So, Jonathan, thank you for that. Anything else on your mind?
Oh, I have so many things I don't even know where to begin, but I think we're just looking forward to going to that. Thank you so much.
God bless. We'll get you tickets for that, and thank you, my friend. I'm glad your dad is doing better.
Oh, my pleasure.
Michael, what is on your mind? Michael, thank you for being a member. Members.charliekirk.com. What's on your mind?
How you doing, Charlie? Happy Easter. My question is, I am a sophomore at Lehigh University, and we got denied last semester and this semester for starting a chapter of Turning Point. I just want some advice, and if there's any resources to Turning Point can offer to pretty much aid our support in getting TPUSA registered on campus, that would be awesome.
What
It's a very liberal campus.
Lehigh University in Bethlehem, PA.
Yeah, Lehigh. Not a huge surprise there. We would be happy to give you as many resources as we can on the local level. And I think that is a private school, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It is, yes.
You know, one of the things I want the Trump administration to entertain is if these schools receive federal money, are they really private schools? And so they're able to act with widespread discrimination. Now, mind you, there is some caution here, because Christian schools shouldn't have to all of a sudden do all the woke stuff if a Democrat president becomes president. So we got to be careful here, right? So we got to weigh the options. But you take a school like Lehigh or a school like Harvard, why are they able to discriminate that I cannot come and speak on campus if they're receiving federal money? If they're receiving money from the taxpayer. Now, Hillsdale is a completely different situation. Hillsdale receives no federal money. None. Zero. Hillsdale receives not $1. So there is no opening. Hillsdale can do whatever they want. But I am of the legal opinion for now that if you receive subsidized federal student loans, research grant money, or other subsidies, why is it that you're allowed to suppress freedom of speech? So we're happy to connect you with the Alliance Defending Freedom. They do a great job with that. And thank you for your advocacy. And please come to our Student Action Summit. Daisy will be in touch. Thank you.
All right, real quick. Sorry to keep this going, but we did table one time, and we got called, Nazi hate group and inhumane bigots. So the only thing that really irks me and really bothers me is just the whole environment, which it is. And there's a lot of closeted conservatives on campus. I'm friends with many of them. There's also a lot of liberals that I'm friends with because they have open viewpoints, and we have a lot of dialogue. That's a whole different it's a whole different topic. But what can I do with that? What bullets do I have in my chamber to fire? Even though it's not something I really want to do, but I really am passionate on getting this on campus. So I'm just looking for any, opening.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that you got thrown all those names at you. That is unfortunately typical. And so I would also just respond, be like, hey, name one thing I've ever said that's racist or hateful.
And they just walked away.
Of course,
they said it and walked away.
Typical.
Cowards. That's what I say.
100%. That's so typical of these maniacs. The best advice I have is you have to hold your ground, know what you believe, have a strong remnant of students, and don't allow that to phase you. And unfortunately, we deal with this all the time at Turning Point USA. And know your rights. You're experiencing the same thing as me, Trump, and all of our amazing Turning Point USA students. This will help you develop fortitude. And don't let them lie to you. They will try, but don't allow them to slander you and malign you because you have conservative views. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a good evening, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
God bless you. Brandon, thank you for being a member. Let's go, Brandon. Members.charliekirk.com. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Charlie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Well, I was good until I got some news. So a year ago Sunday, which happens to be Easter this year, one of my best friends took his life. And I just learned about 20 minutes ago that his sister OD'd Tuesday night. She's fine now, but I was just wondering if you and everyone listening could keep her family in your thoughts and prayers this weekend.
Yeah, I'm very sorry about that. What is their name so we can do that?
Her name is Caitlin. Her husband's name is Caitlin. Her husband's name is Cody.
Well, look, that's a serious issue, and first of all, she should try to get help because drug usage and drug addiction is no joke. It ruins so many different lives. And look, we have a sick society. It's the most suicidal, alcohol addicted, drug addicted generation in history, and people need Jesus, man. People need Jesus, and a lot of people fall into trauma after loss. And I will point a lot of the audience. Your brain might be more damaged than you realize in the sense of you might have had a concussion. It might be poisoned. I encourage people to treat your brain like an organ very similar to your heart or your stomach. Try not to drink alcohol. Try to eat a brain-healthy diet of a lot of healthy fats. It can help with mental clarity. It can also help people with depression. There's a lot of evidence to show that. And make sure you get your vitamin D and find support groups, so on and so forth. Thank you so much. I'm really sorry to hear that, and God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you.
Okay, Alan Jackson, as the battle between good and evil escalates, boy, what a segue, it's easy to blame politicians, government, or poor leadership. But behind all of this is a spiritual battle. Pastor Alan Jackson's new book, Angel, Demons, and You, that's what it's all about. Angel, Demons, and You will find valuable insight, practical tools, and biblical truth that will help you navigate what's ahead. We're going to need it. Get your copy today at alanjackson.com/angels. You can learn more about Pastor Alan and his ministry at alanjackson.com. Angel, Demons, and You. You can begin to recognize the evil at play in the turmoil surrounding us and oftentimes even in our own thoughts. Go to alanjackson.com/angels. That is alanjackson.com/angels. Email me freedom@charliekirk.com. We'll be right back.
Speaking the truth, no one else has the guts to say. The Charlie Kirk Show.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Email us, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com. Again, if you want to be able to ask us a question directly, it's members.charliekirk.com, members.charliekirk.com. As a reminder, on Tuesday, we will be going on campus at Texas A&M University. On Thursday, we will be in Laramie, Wyoming. Not often do you go and do an event in Laramie, Wyoming. I have been all over Wyoming. I've never been to Laramie, Wyoming. And I know we have a lot of patriots in Denver and Fort Collins that are going to be driving up for that one. The Texas A&M one, if you guys are in Texas, you want to come to College Station, let's have a big turnout there. That's going to be a lot of fun in College Station. So tpusa.com if you guys want to see our upcoming 2 tour appearances. Boston got canceled, unfortunately. Long story, not of my own liking, but not exactly free speech advocates up in Boston. Let me just put it that way. We are looking for a replacement for that one. So Wyoming and Texas A&M next week. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Email us, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. And also check out the bitcoin.com studio. Bitcoin.com for all of your related transactions with Bitcoin, Bitcoin.com. Email us, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. Who do we have here? Robert, thank you for being a member. Members.charliekirk.com. What's on your mind?
Well, I wanted to know how WinRed is functioning. When it initially was created, it seemed like a great tool. And then I learned first that the distribution of funds was being controlled at the time by McConnell, and he was not funding candidates like Gary Lake. And then I found that they even would publish an appeal and advertise a given candidate. And when I dug into it, if you donated $100, only $1 went to the candidate, and the other 99 went wherever they wanted to put them. And that felt very deceptive. So are you aware of the status of WinRed?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So you're partially correct on this, and it's an important concern. So WinRed is a payment processor. So it connects the donor to where they want to donate. The biggest issue with WinRed is that some people think they're donating to a candidate, as to your very astute point, Robert, and it goes to a candidate's committee. So let me just give you an example. Let's say that you get a text message from a candidate that you like and that you support. Let's say that it's J.D. Vance or Donald Trump, or even more locally, let's say it's Ted Cruz, okay? What you might not always realize is that Ted Cruz is sending that email on behalf of a joint fundraising committee, and it's not actually going to the campaign. It might be going to like the Senate, McConnell's fund. Now, WinRed, to their credit, though, they'll work with individual candidates and all that. The biggest problem I have with WinRed, and I have told them this, is how they share the data to other campaigns. And Robert, I bet you get a nauseating amount of emails and text messages, don't you? I do. The amount of fundraising solicitations that they send out. And I've said this to the RNC, I've said this to Michael Whatley. You are losing your base with how much email volume you are sending out. Triple, 50 match, get your gold card. Okay, I'm all for raising money. Of course, I do it professionally. We raised $150 million last year, and it was very well deployed, and it made a huge difference, and we hired over 1,500 people. I'm just saying you could do it in a way with a little bit more of a softer and lighter touch where you're not turning off donors. And I bet, Robert, do you think the amount of emails you get makes it more likely or less likely that you're going to give?
Oh, I won't even touch anything, even if I want to support it, if it's done through WinRed. I'm so disillusioned with that. I only donate directly to a candidate's fund.
Well done. And let me just say, like, some of these emails, it says like yesterday, in the span of 4 days, did you get our apology? Please give us one more chance to explain this mistake. Andrew, it's President Trump. Have my text been getting through? Confirm here. Surprise from the president. Hello, Andrew, it's Trump. I have something special for you. It's like every couple hours, and I get it. They got to raise money. You got to pay for expenses. Want to be the Democrats. I'm all for that. Feedback that I get from the grassroots is that I think there's a better way to do it. Still raise money, of course, still do all that. But the incessant text messages every 20 minutes, it's way too much. And I subscribe to this. I actually looked. I got 13 emails yesterday. 13 emails. All right. Thank you so much. Diane, wondering if your thoughts on all the Democrat infighting taking place between David Hogg and James Carville, is this evidence of a bigger problem? Well, finally, they're fighting. So the vice chair of the DNC is David Hogg. He wants to spend $20 million to primary do-nothing Democrats. Now, I've never read the Democrat National Committee bylaws. If an RNC person did this, they would be kicked out of the RNC. The RNC, by bylaws, you are not allowed to even support or get involved in any form of primary. So either David Hogg is violating DNC bylaws or he doesn't know them. Either way, you can't be the vice chair of the DNC and encourage primaries. That is definitionally against what the party's supposed to be. The party is there to try and elect more Democrats. This is cut 377.
Somebody sued David Hogg. He's an officer of the Democratic National Committee. He is the vice chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and he's running against other Democrats. I would like to know, and you went to law school, does he have a fiduciary duty toward Democrats? If you work for News Nation, you can't promote CNN. I think it's an outrage. I don't know if I have standing, but I might give the DNC $10 and sue him. He's a contemptible little twerp, if you ask.
Fight harder, fight nastier, civil war underway. And I think Carville is right. You can't be an officer of the party and then say you must primary. You can do that on the outside. I'm all for primaries. But being part of the actual party to do that, I love to see it. Have a wonderful Easter, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Happy Passover to all who observe. He is risen. He is risen indeed. See you Monday.